Namaste, Om Shiva Chidambaram. Welcome to the second episode of Insights from Epics. Technically speaking, this is not a story that is from the epics, but it is from the Itihasa Purana corpus. It is not from Valmiki Ramayana or from Kamba Ramayana. I don't know which Ramana variant the story is, but it's interesting for a certain mindset it reveals. So I want to speak on that. So what the story says is that when Ravana wakes up Kumbhakarna to fight for him and tells him the reason why they are fighting, Kumbhakarna, of course, in all the versions, Kumbhakarna gets very mad at him and tells him that what kind of insanity are you in the grip of? What disaster have you brought upon us that you are taking panga? What is this you have done? You have kidnapped Sri Rama's wife, and Sri Rama is essentially impossible to beat. You have ensured the destruction of the entire Rakshasa race. And in this story, when he finds his arguments are not working on Ravana, as in all stories they don't work, he says, "Come with me, I want to show you something." So Kumbhakarna takes Ravana from back door out of the city deep into the jungles of Lanka until they walk for a while, and Ravana wonders in this crisis, why is he making me walk like this for no reason? Until they come to a hill, and he says, in this moment of crisis, why have you brought me to show me this hill, and what is this about this hill? And anyways, what is this? I have never seen this and I don't know that it has any significance. So Kumbhakarna just reaches up and scrapes, because he's a huge guy, he's a giant. He scrapes the top of the hill, he scrapes away the vegetation, and he reveals that it is actually not a hill, it is a huge golden piece, and it is a kundala, a earpiece. The whole hill is a kundala of some gigantic being from the past, and now it has been covered up. And he says, "My dear brother, you don't remember, but I remember. In our past lives, we were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. I was Hiranyaksha, and this is my kundala, and you were Hiranyakashipu. When I was this size, when the kundala is as big as me today, when I was this size, Mahavishnu beat me. And that same Mahavishnu has now come back in the form of Sri Rama. You and I are doomed. Lanka is doomed. Our entire clan is doomed. Maybe the Rakshasas are doomed. Please don't do this." Now, in most accounts, it seems that Ravana was Hiranyaksha and Kumbhakarna was Hiranyakashipu. But in this story, the events are reversed. I would go with this story because even in the older stories, in the Puranic stories, Hiranyaksha is so big, he's so huge that when he walks on the shores of the cosmic oceans, his crown hits planets. And Kumbhakarna and Hiranyaksha, the gigantic size is of course Hiranyaksha was killed by the Varaha avatar, and Hiranyakashipu was killed by the Narsimha avatar. So he says, "I remember," which also makes me think that Kumbhakarna was not always sleeping. He was most probably in Samadhi, because he had a very strange tamasic sort of enlightened mind. He recognized Sri Rama immediately. What is the point of this story? It's an interesting story, but what is the point? What the point is that certain people, when they are hell-bent on destruction, when they are possessed by an idea of destruction, they are immune to advice, they are immune to evidence. And you can do nothing but get out of the way. If you look at it, Ravana's wife Mandodari told him, his grandfather told him, his father-in-law Mayadanava told him, Kumbhakarna told him, Vibheeshana told him, everybody in Maricha told him, everybody in his, Maricha was his uncle, everybody in his inner circle with any kind of brains has told him, don't go up against Sri Rama, you will just invite destruction. And what does he do? He refuses to listen. He refuses to take advice because he's so fixated on his ego and his arrogance and his belief that I am the great Ravana, I have the blessings of Brahma and Shiva, and this is a man that in one version Hanuman points out to him that his immunity from all classes of beings that Brahma gave him did not include human beings and vanaras. And he still doesn't get it. He's getting advice from the enemy, he still doesn't get it. So, and then now he has this hill, this golden hill, which is actually a earpiece, a earring, kundala, ear ornament. He still doesn't get it. He refuses to get it because there is a certain urge of self-destruction sometimes that you see in people, and that is what you need to take away from the story. When you see a person in the grip of that, it was what Sigmund Freud calls thanatos, the death instinct. When certain organisms in certain societies or certain people are determined to pursue a course of action that will end in calamity. And what the great Balthazar Gracian had said, avoid the diseased and the unlucky. Yeah, because if you're around the orbit of such a person, he will all drag you down. He will drag all of you down, which is exactly what happened. The only person who didn't allow him to drag him down and who, by his wisdom and foresight, saved at least a few Rakshasas, saved Lanka, that was Vibheeshana. Vibheeshana chose the path of dharma, and more importantly, he realized this man is going to bring ruin on everything, no matter the evidence. You can show him a literal hill of evidence, and he refuses to accept reality. So Vibheeshana's reward for that, of course, is to be called Kuladrohi and Gharka Vedi Lanka Dahe and all that, because in a feudal Dehati mindset, loyalty to clan and family trumps everything. Dharma comes very, 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 very low in the list of priorities. But Vibheeshana is one of the great dharmic heroes, and that is why he is a Chiranjeevi. So the interesting thing is, when you see a person who is immune to evidence, when you see a person who is immune to good advice, when you see a person who refuses to listen to his well-wishers, abandon that person, because that person will drag you down with them. No matter how great they used to be in the past. Very often we are like, this person was once very great, all his decisions were correct. Yes, but today was Satya Gaya. Today he's gone gaga. Today he's gone insane. So each situation has to be looked at, and especially when the person is doing something adharmic, as Ravana was doing, especially when the person is indulging in adharma, that is the time to abandon the person. The scale of dharma, Yudhishthira in the Mahabharata explains the scale of dharma. He says, for the sake of the family, you can abandon an individual. For the sake of the village, you can abandon a family. For the sake of the district, you can abandon a village. For the sake of the country, you can abandon the village, or for the sake of the country, you can abandon the district. For the sake of the world, you can abandon the country, but Bhudevi itself, the whole world can be abandoned for dharma. That is how much we keep the priority of. Sorry, this was not Yudhishthira, this was Vidura at the birth of Duryodhana. When everybody was advising Dhritarashtra that this is going to bring calamity upon the family. So yeah, it is just an interesting episode. It is just a very interesting story that, confronted with literal evidence that his brother is far more aware and knowledgeable and spiritually advanced than him, and that his brother is very much. Now, there is something, everybody recognizes that there is something noble in Kumbhakarna, that he still stayed and fought. But I would say that that is slightly misplaced nobility. I would have been happier if Kumbhakarna had followed Vibheeshana and said no. But, he was family above all, which is an adharmic position, I am afraid. If your family is indulging in adharma and you are supporting that merely because they are your family, you are not a very dharmic person. You may be a very loyal person, but you are essentially a feudal dehati, which should not be how a dharmic person lives. So that's my story for today. I hope it was insightful and useful and given you much to think about. Sarvam Shivamaya.